and Australia has won Eurovision. We have won. I can't believe it. Australia wins Eurovision. The champions of Europe. Australia has... Oh, right. Yeah, Austria wins Eurovision. Of course. That makes more sense. Yeah, Austria. G'day guys, welcome back. This is my first video since I've done all of my reactions, which was pre-Eurovision Grand Final. So yeah, as we all know now, the contest has been run and won by Austria. First of all, congratulations to JJ and Austria. This was an amazing performance, and even on my first reaction, listen to this video, as you can go back and see, it blew me away. It just felt like the winner from the word go. That's me reacting to the video the first time around. So look, I think my radar was pretty spot on. Probably the one thing I got wrong though was, I said the final was going to be in Vienna, but I think it probably could be somewhere else. There's other Austrian cities that could potentially host this, so yeah. But anyway, go and check that out. But more importantly, congratulations JJ, and well done Austria. You must feel a great sense of national pride after winning the Eurovision Song Contest. So as I said, I haven't done a video since the reactions. I've got a lot coming up. This will be just a little bit of a high-level first take on how the competition looked as a whole package. But in the next couple of days and weeks, I'll be doing some deep dives onto each country's entry and some of the key performances. Also some of the, who got robbed, what the odds got wrong, what I think might happen next year. And I've also had many people ask me about Australia. So I didn't do a reaction video for Australia because I can't vote for Australia, we can't vote for Australia. But I will share some thoughts on how I think Australia went and what I think we might be doing next year, and also what maybe is coming up for Australian and Eurovision in general. So stay tuned for that. But like I said, this one will be a general overview of how Eurovision was, just I guess how the whole package was, and just some things I noticed. Maybe 5 things that I noticed, but I mean, to start with, we all know the scoreboard here and what happened on the night. Just to reiterate, in case you've been asleep or on another planet, Austria won pretty comfortably in the end. I think people doing the math probably realised they'd won after Sweden didn't get many public votes. I think it became quite clear that Austria probably had it in the bag. And then as soon as Switzerland got 0 votes, my goodness, I'm so sorry, Switzerland, for the public. Yeah, Austria were going to win. I'll do a deep dive on that later anyway. Just some very minor things I want to mention though is I do think, I'm glad Albania finished top 10. I really think they deserved it. And Poland, I think Poland and Albania were really robbed by the juries. I'm not sure what happened there. And I'm a little bit down that Finland didn't get the public vote I maybe thought they were going to get. I really thought that Erika stole the show in the semi-final in particular, but in the final she might have been a victim of the running order a little bit. It probably didn't have the same impact running mid-show as to what it would have at the end. I'll get into all that in later videos, but otherwise I think this came out pretty much as I think most people would have expected. Greece potentially performed higher than people thought, and Switzerland clearly did with their the jury votes. For a while there it looked like we were going to be rinsing and repeating in Switzerland. Which brings me to my first point, actually. So this is the top 5 things I noticed from a very high level on the Eurovision Song Contest, and it's fitting that we start with Switzerland, because number 1 on my list is, wow, wow. What a way to host an event. That was incredible. The production, the lighting, the staging, the whole atmosphere, the environment. I mean, Eurovision's a very well-run ship. At the worst of times, they really get everything down millimeter perfect when they're producing these song contests. And Switzerland they took it to another level. This looked beautiful. Every staging felt fully optimized for each performer, and it just felt like every performer was given the chance to showcase their worth at the highest possible level, because Switzerland provided this environment for that to occur. So well done, Switzerland. That was just incredible. I mean, look, I don't think Australia could pull this off, unfortunately, this kind of level of production. I would worry if we were hosting Eurovision and we had to follow that, because that was just incredible. We're hosting the 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games, and I'm already very worried about how that's going to come across, because the Australian approach to hosting events like this, is much more of a, ah, we'll have a crack and she'll be right, and yeah, we'll just make it work there somehow. Whereas this Switzerland production here was just so polished and just, yeah, it was. That's going to be a hard act to follow, but if anyone can follow it, it's probably going to be Austria. So I almost hope they do a bad production just to bring the level back down a bit, but I mean, we all know they're not going to do that. So anyway, that was the first thing I noticed, is just what a great production this song contest was. Well done, Switzerland. Like, you really, it came across through the telecast in Australia, just what a magical event this was. And it felt like the only thing going on in the world that was worth paying attention to. So massive, massive well done to Switzerland. The second thing I noticed, I think, is that the quality of songs and staging and performances and overall, I guess, branding of each song has gone up massively. So I think this is attributed a little bit to Sweden and their national competition, maybe, because they set the bar quite early with their staging and what the expectation will be, and I feel like other countries then have to rise up to that level, because the staging and the music production for this contest was next level compared to previous years, I feel. There were only a handful of entries that maybe haven't come up to the level, but that might be due to resourcing or perhaps a general internal attitude on Eurovision and their approach, and maybe, maybe there's some other things going on, politics, that they can't quite get the resourcing they need maybe. But all in all, the level of entry and the level of stage production, the level of the way that they're being sort of presented to us as a full package with backstory is just incredible. So well done. I hope that continues, because yeah, it just makes the competition so much more hard to predict, which we saw in the voting. Like, there was just points going everywhere. You didn't know who was going to get 12 points like other years. So I think that's very key, that everyone rises to this level to make it a more interesting contest. The third thing I noticed is that I think, despite all the bells and whistles of some of these stage productions though, authenticity still reigns supreme. People still want to see an artist that they can relate to, that they feel like the song has connection to them, and that looks like someone who is a genuine artist and not just thrown into, Eurovision to produce some wacky kind of circus act. Now, I'm not pointing any fingers, because there weren't actually many of those, but I do like that the voting public and the juries really rewarded some of these real genuine artists who had a bit more of an authentic kind of performance without trying to, be really attention grabbing with staging and whatnot. So, I mean, I think there's some standouts on the screen here. I think the semi-finals also sold that, with the likes of Portugal getting through. They were just not really came across as authentic, so people preferred that over some other things that maybe seemed a bit more highly produced and a bit more highly choreographed or highly branded, like with the Belgium and the Cyprus entry, which were incredibly unlucky not to make it. But it just shows you that people are looking for authenticity. So I think next year we'll definitely get a bit more of the authentic acts rather than these big, maybe pop acts. So yeah, that was the third thing I noticed. The fourth thing was, this show in the past, we're watching very early in Australia in the morning, and we're up at 3:30 having our coffee, trying to get ready for this thing starting at 4 a.m. And then we've got to, get through the whole morning on no sleep watching it. So in the past, it has felt like it can really drag. But this year, it moved along really well. They jam-packed this full of content and acts and little bits and pieces, but it never felt like it dragged. They all went for a very short, allotted period of time. Nothing sort of overstayed its welcome. So things moved quite quickly. From the song transition to the next song to the interval acts in between, which I'll get to in the next point, things were just cut back, and it just felt like it didn't drag, but it still felt very complete and full. So well done there. And the host didn't drag it on too long either. They had a great dynamic. They were, especially the two in the semi-finals, they got the show moving quite quickly. They added just the right amounts of kind of, filler material, you can say, a little bit of humour. So that was just fantastic, how this just moved along at a really nice pace. But that leads me to the fifth thing, just looking at it from an overall package, and that was the supporting acts. These were done beautifully. So I've got these two here on screen. You can see Baby Lasagna and Guardia. They were sensational, and well done to Switzerland and Eurovision for not putting these on during the contest, before the contestants had performed, because there's a massive danger in this overshadowing them and stealing a lot of the contestants' thunder, which wouldn't have been fair. So I'm glad that they were really mindful of the contestants, and they put this on after. I think that might have been after the voting even closed, which is good, because this might have actually impacted voting. People might have been like, oh yeah, let's vote for Finland or Croatia just based on this, because this was an outstanding idea. I don't know who came up with doing this, and I'm glad both these performers agreed, because this worked so well and was just such a, such a Eurovision moment for the fans. So well done there. Other supporting acts were, Nemo came out and did his code, and I love that they stripped it back a bit, again, not to steal the thunder of this year's contestants, but to still pay homage to the winner of last year and the whole reason we're in Switzerland. Then we had Gjorn's Tears, I can't say his name, but Le Univers. He came on and did a very, very stripped back version as well of his song, and that was beautiful to hear again. That was one of my favourite entries that year. I think it was my second, maybe it might have been my first, I can't remember, but that was up there as one of my favourites, so it was great to hear that again. And then bringing back some of the old contestants through COVID, I had no idea that they'd entered COVID songs that just sort of got lost into the wilderness of Eurovision. I assumed that they were using the song from the COVID year and just sort of reusing it for the following year as like okay, well, we won't have it this year, we'll have it the following year. So the Roop, for example, I love the Roop. They had a different song there, and they're doing all the dancing, and that was their original song. And then the following year, obviously, they gave in Discotheque and Dance Alone, and that was a bit of a COVID type song. So I'm so glad that they did that, because that was great to give some of those other performers a chance to sing those original songs. So well done there. And then the other one was the, some people say it's a bit corny and cringy, but you need it. The Made in Switzerland song, it just had the right amount of, and we know it's an infomercial for Switzerland. They're hosting the thing. They've got to get some bang for their buck in terms of tourism and just kind of awareness of their country and what they do and their products. So they have to have something like that. It's always going to divide people. I thought it was done really well. I thought it was just the perfect amount of humour and sort of shoving their culture down our throat, but in a very tasteful way that didn't feel like it was a drain, or didn't feel like I was getting advertised too much. It fit the whole Eurovision vibe very well. So well done on that, Switzerland. So yeah, they're the 5 things that sort of really stood out to me from a very high level. But like I said, stay tuned. I'm going to do a lot more deep diving and analysis and sort of some dissecting a lot of other things that happened, because I've got so much on my list to talk about what happened at this Eurovision. My goodness, there is just so much to go through, and the Australian perspective might be very, very unique to what the rest of the world thinks. So anyway, I'll wrap this one up for now, but this is just my general kind of reaction video. Well done to Austria. Absolutely smashed it. Maybe next time we'll get an LA in the name, and it will be Australia. Someday, maybe never. I don't know. Probably never, but I just love that we're a part of it still. Please keep us in. But well done, Austria. Well done, JJ. And stay tuned for my next videos, because I've got some interesting things to bring to the table. So well done to Eurovision 2025.